Welcome to Influential Entrepreneurs, bringing you interviews with elite business leaders and experts, sharing tips and strategies for elevating your business to the next level. Here's your host, Mike Saunders.
Hello and welcome to this episode of Influential Entrepreneurs. This is Mike Saunders, the Authority Positioning Coach. Today we have with us Andy Turner, who's the owner of Turner Financial, which is a hybrid IMO. Andy, welcome to the program.
Hi, Mike. Thanks for having me.
You are welcome. I'm excited to talk to you because I know that you've got a lot of great things going on, and I always love when someone puts a little unique word in front of a clarifying a term about the company, because we know what an IMO is, but what's a hybrid IMO? So I want to learn about what that is, and before we dive into that, give us a little bit of your background and your entrepreneurial journey up to this point in your career.
Thank you. Yeah, so I've had a unique experience in this business. To have the experience I have at my age is very rare. I was fortunate. I'm the baby of my family. My father was 50 years older than me. My oldest brother was almost 22 years older than me.
Wow.
And he was in this business in the 80s when back then they, the IMO wasn't an acronym then. It was, regional office, regional agency. And he morphed into what was then called an AFMO under a large FMO and became very, entrenched, so to speak, in the annuity and life world from a marketing standpoint. I was answering phones for him in high school.
Wow.
Was helping him recruit when realized that, I went and got my license in December of 98 and turned around and sold, final expense, term insurance to, mortgage protection. I sold some health insurance to small business owners. My brother wouldn't let me come in to his work and take over an office there until I got my nose bloodied, his words. He's like, you got to go out, and learn the business. He's like, I had to do that because he was a New York life agent before he became an FMO, and turned around and, started learning the nuances of understanding what clients' needs are. And that kind of morphed into what we are today. My brother's now retired, and, Turner Financial is built on that foundation of one, like you said, a hybrid IMO and what that means. And, what basically is taking place is that I feel that there are an awful lot of organizations out there that their marketers are good, but they're not licensed.
Yep.
They've never sat across the table at 8 o'clock at night helping a client make the right decision, whether it be about life insurance or retirement, income planning, whatever it may be. And my partner and I are both licensed. We both personally write business here locally. I'm a part of some boards and some associations that I help teach people about the proper planning when, they come out of their 401k, 403b, whatever it may be. On the side of the IMO side, that's where the hybrid comes from. It allows me to have a conversation with an agent at a granular level. That when an agent comes to me and says, my client needs this income, but they don't need it until 5 years from now, what product fits? And I won't have to just use one product because it's the only product I know. I can get into the product catalog and say, well, I used this product in a similar situation. Here's one that's kind of similar to it, but has some other bells and whistles. I try to give agents 2 or 3 options so that the client can kind of choose what they feel is best. Instead of it being a sales situation, it's more of a consultative situation that makes them realize, okay, we're doing this to get to this point. And that's where I feel that the hybrid part comes in handy, because agents can realize they're talking to someone that's, I may go off the phone with them and may go to a lunch appointment myself.
Yeah.
It happens all the time.
It reminds me of, you think about people who go, oh, they're just a teacher because they don't know how to do it. And for instance, I teach marketing strategy for 4 universities for the last 12 years, but I also have a marketing agency, and I'm able to say to clients, hey, this works because look at how it's steeped in academia. And I could say to students in online forums, hey, here's this concept, and I'm doing this right now with this client. And it's exactly what you just said. I'm certain in the industry, agents are like, oh, I've heard that tired old whatever marketing concept or strategy. That doesn't work anymore, and it might not work anymore, but that person at the other end of the phone or email is just talking about things they've talked about for years and years. But here you are going, ooh, I just left the kitchen table with this person. I was able to listen and ascertain their needs, and here's what I recommended, and that's what I'm recommending to you. And these are in fact, I would venture to say you're finding cutting edge products and services and techniques mainly because you want your your group to take advantage of them, but also it benefits you as well. So everyone wins.
100%. It's my partner and I speak all the time, either after we've talked to a client or we've talked to an agent. And this just happened the other day. My partner found a product that he's helping one of our clients with, and he got done with that client, and he goes, man, I found this really cool product that has critical benefits. He goes, I didn't realize how it worked. He goes, I talked to 3 agents today that have the exact same situation that the clients are asking them for, and he's like, I can introduce it to them. And we found it because we were trying to help our client, where on the other marketing, and I've been in and out of probably 70, maybe 80 IMOs in my past. I used to do workshops, so I sold workshops and how to do them properly. And the one thing that I noticed was that a lot of marketers, when they get into those conversations, if the agent needs something that may be a little outside of the box, they can't help them. It's not their fault. They just don't have the training for it. Yeah. Where Paul Wheeler, my partner, can sit there and say, no, I did this with this client, and this is why. It's just a different experience.
Yeah, I think that's amazing. And I think that you talk about changing times in the space. Well, I think the only thing constant in business these days is the fact that things change, and we've got to bob and weave and update and be resilient and all of that. And gone are the days where we just dial in whatever formula and it works and spits out results. We've got to always be iterating and improving. So what are some of the changes that you're seeing in the space that you're adjusting for and then now able to bring to your producers to help them get new annuity and life business?
The knock that I've had on the industry for the past, 5 or 6 years, maybe 8, a lot of marketing companies out there are selling leads. We can get you 30 leads for a month. We can get you 40 leads. But when it comes to appointment setting, most of the time that is just required by the agent or the agent's assistant. They've got someone, they're just like, hey, here's your leads, good luck. And in my experience, especially like when I was doing workshops. When you do workshops, you may have 60 registrants. Everyone knows about 30 will show. The industry average is like right at 50% will be in that meeting. Well, what are you doing with the other 30? You had 60 registrants, 30 showed. A lot of agents, it's not their fault. They're going to go work with the clients that need them right that day.
Yeah.
And then the other ones kind of fall into this category of just being shelved. It's not that they're a good prospect. It's not a thing that they may not be a good client. They just don't even know. We have built a system which we're launching. We literally just launched it in the last 30 days. We've been working on it for 4 months to cultivate those leads for agents. It's not crazy expensive. And we call it database reactivation, where we are physically going after appointments. We're not guaranteeing you 30 leads. We're shooting to get you 6 to 8 appointments on your schedule per month. On stuff you've already used, that you've already brought to your table. You just never, I said this last night in a meeting with an agent, and it dawned on me, it's correct. I said, it'd be like being a farmer, and you have this field over here that's 100 acres that you just never get to. It's just become weeds. It's probably good tillable ground. You don't know, but you're only working what's right in front of you. I said, I feel it's the same thing in our industry. You have agents and advisors that have either done workshops or bought leads from all the different. There's all kinds of players out there. I could go on forever naming them. But what are you doing with them? I know a lot of people will say, well, I've got email, marketing. I hit them with the newsletter. How many actual appointments have you gotten from that? The numbers that I've heard are pretty, but they're not good. And so,
it reminds me of something here. Have you ever done something that I find myself doing quite frequently? I see this new thing, whatever it is, something that I'm like really interested in, but not right this second. So I'll go to their website and get on their email list, hoping and banking on the fact that if you're good, you're going to follow up with me, and that's going to be a little ping reminder. And then when I am ready, I'm going to go, oh, yeah, boom. Well, don't prospects, don't our prospects do the same thing? And if we're not doing that, we are missing out on massive opportunity. Literally 2 Fridays ago, I closed a nice large deal for my consulting agency, and I looked back in the track of how we connected. We connected on LinkedIn in 2016. So 6 years ago, we connected, stayed in touch, and she saw that I interviewed this other person on my podcast that she knew. She reached back out. Oh, hey, we ought to reconnect. I'm like, yeah, we should. Well, if you are now providing a vehicle to make this easy and hand it to agents on a silver platter, that's worth its weight in gold times 10.
I believe so. I've spoken to a couple other friends that are in the IMO, FMO space, and when I mentioned it, they're like, "You're doing what?" They're like, and I'm like, yeah. I said, I did a survey, a personal survey last year, basically, of looking at all the marketing that was out there. And the one thing that I felt was falling short is the follow-up aspect. And it's not all agents' fault. I mean, a lot of people will say, oh, well, maybe the agent's being lazy. I'm sure in some cases there's some of that. But most of the agents I work with, it's because they're too busy. They drive 2 hours to meet a client. They write an app, or they got to come back and do the app online now because most of our stuff's gone digital because of COVID. But they still got to physically plug in all the data. By the time you get to 4 o'clock in the afternoon, are you going to spend 3 hours on the phone trying to find your next prospect?
Right.
Probably not. You're going to push it off to the next day. And then there's going to be something else that's red light in front of you. Oh, I got to take care of that. Where if you've got a system behind you that's doing it for you, and all they're trying to do is put them on your calendar for you just to show up and be you, I think in our digital world, you said something earlier I completely agree with. I jokingly say that Google is a wonderful thing and an awful thing all wrapped into one. But we are now moving from what we used to be called fast food, nation, to we're fast information nation.
Yeah.
And if you can't stay in front of clients / prospects in real time, you're going to miss the boat on a lot of business.
Yep. And so when you say follow up, what type of touch points will your platform be providing? Is it email only? Does it have email text? Is it, what are some of the ways that you can have multiple touch points?
Yeah, so it's email and text. And at first I was reluctant with it. When it was pitched to me last fall, we've been, like I said, working on this for about 4 months before we were ready to launch it to agents. But I will say I had been, knock on wood, I don't want to jinx it, I have been pleasantly surprised on the amount of reaction we've got from the text messages alone.
Yep. Yeah.
And them being like, yeah, I want to have, here's a couple times I have available, or yeah, shoot me their calendar, and they're willing to hop on the agent's calendar. And the follow-up inside the system is, automatic. There are people behind it, but there's some parameters of things, that happen, and they stay on top of them, and it happens in real time. Where an agent, I had an agent tell me a couple of weeks ago, he's like, I had a prospect that came from a workshop that he texted me, and I was driving, and then I forgot to text him back, and it was like 2 days later.
Yep.
Where if they're inside that system, it's happening in real time. And so, because it's not their fault, you get busy doing other stuff sometimes, but everybody talks so much more now through a, text message platform. They're willing to respond to a text. The one thing that's been a knock on a lot of the other lead systems we've used over the last year and a half, a lot of myself included, because my partner Paul and I have bought in some, people just don't answer the phone, but you text them, they respond.
Right.
And so it's a change. It's kind of strange. Some of my agents are still kind of reluctant with it, just like I am, but I'm like, hey, you got to see the numbers. I'll show you the numbers, and that's kind of where we're at. We're launching it, and we're going to go the next step over the next 30 days where we're going to start running ads on Google and Facebook that are going to be generated towards the agent. The other knock in our industry is that there's a lot of generic ads, and then they sell them to the agent. They'll say, hey, are you concerned about, outliving your retirement, or do you have a dormant 401k, whatever the tagline is, and there's all kinds of them. But usually they're just state specific. Hey, we're running XYZ ad, and then we're going to divvy these out to advisors.
To whoever's
we are going to go a step forward and make it branded.
Nice. And the other thing that I was thinking about, the reluctancy with text messages, I'm certain that you could say to your agents, well, let's talk about frequency. We're not going to be texting people every day and upsetting people.
No.
The frequency is going to be dialed in to where it's like a little drip here and a little drip there. And, one time it's an email, one time it's a text, and they're not going to feel badgered, but you're going to feel present. And I think that's a big, big takeaway people need to understand as well.
Yeah, I mean, I spoke to an agent, and he's like, he goes, I made, 150 calls over the last 2 days trying to follow up on prospects. He goes, by the time I got towards the middle of it, I wasn't sure I wanted to leave messages anymore. He goes, are they really listening to them?
Yep.
And I said, I have an opinion on that. I said, you have to leave a message. I said, what you hope happens is they at least hear your voice.
Yes.
It's a touch point, like you said earlier. And then if you have the right follow-ups in place, and some agents do. I mean, I've got a few agents that are that work with us that are super on top of it, but most of them don't do a very good job of what you just said, which is the touch point every few days with a text message reminder. Hey, go take a look at this article that I found, or because it doesn't always have to be trying to go for the appointment. Here's some information about what we think you were concerned about. Just like you said, staying relevant in front of them until all of a sudden, because a lot of times, and I think this goes across all industries, it's about timing.
It is, and I will even take it one step deeper, which is don't get hung up on metrics that don't matter. Like, here's just where I'm thinking, open rates. The open rate is only X%, and that's just really low. And I will submit to you that in email, it doesn't matter as much. Now, open rates are important, I get it, but think of it from the perspective of an open rate means someone saw that your email came in, clicked on it, opened it, read it, and then took action or didn't. But what if we all do this? We scan through our emails and we're like, delete, delete, delete. But in that split-second moment of time, they know it came from Andy Turner at Turner Financial, or they know it came from whoever. And right as they're deleting it, they thought of you and they knew who that was. And it's a touch. It literally still is a touch point. So yes, the voicemail might not garner a callback, but they heard you, and maybe it's the warm tone, and maybe it's your energetic passion, but it's still a voicemail. And that email still is a touch point, even if it didn't. Now, 2 emails down the road, 4 texts down the road, 2 months down the road, maybe that's when they're like, oh, we need to talk. Thanks for staying in touch with me.
Yep. It's the old, I used this adage the other day when I was talking to a group of agents that I work with in Florida. I said, in the old days, we used to send out postcards. We sent out our newsletters. I used to send out newsletters, and I would send it with a magnet so that I would hope that they would put it on their fridge. That way it's in their wheelhouse all the time. Like you said, it's something that they're seeing. It's a touch point. Hey, I haven't called them, but I do need to call them and ask them this question. You're just subliminally, hey, by the way, when you're ready, I'm here. And I think a lot of agents, because things have moved so fast, they forget some of those things. Something you mentioned earlier about gifts, it's not necessarily gifting to gain something from it, it's to show them that you're here. Hey, I care about what's going on in your life right now. And I think those things are getting lost a little bit because we're moving so fast. So we're trying to reel it back a little bit, not necessarily back to the Stone Age that we used to be in 15 years ago with mailers and radio ads. Not that people aren't still doing some of that, but because we're doing so many things with SEO and dealing with stuff with LinkedIn and Google and Facebook and other platforms, of just staying relevant the right way.
100%. Well, let's move into something that I saw on your website, that you're getting an award coming up here in the next few weeks. Tell us a little bit about that, because that sure is a feather in your cap.
Yeah, so I got a phone call. So to tell you how I got there, and about 3 weeks before COVID happened, I helped one of my agents close a $20 million deal on a client that had sold a business literally right before the shutdown. And if anybody knows in our business, right as that was happening, rates were plummeting. We went from having, locked in rates in multi-year guaranteed annuities of 3.5, 3.75 to they were dropping below 3 like overnight. And we were able to get that done and also get it done with 4 companies and basically do something that I was told by several people couldn't get done, and we got it done. Well, that put me on the radar. I should have received this award this time last year, but because of COVID, they pushed the Vegas symposium back until this spring. So I got named one of the top 100 insurance marketers in the world because of that, and some other things I was doing during COVID, helping agents learn Zoom, some of the things we were doing technological-wise. So I get to go to Vegas in a couple of weeks and receive the award that shows that maybe I'm a little bit better subject matter expert than people think.
Well, let's think of it like this. Many times throughout our conversation here, I've heard you say things that are not focused on only you benefiting only you, right? Because everyone's favorite radio station is WIIFM. Have you heard that one before?
Yeah, I have. Yeah.
Yep. I learned it years ago from Brian Tracy in one of his seminars, and I've always used it since. And everybody cares about what's in it for me. And it sounds to me like you are sitting there going, my sleeves are rolled up. I am getting her done. And here's what I'm learning. And I'm helping my group and my agents and the production that you guys can do. And it's all about you going, ooh, check this out. I can do this for you. Hey, I can help you bring this. Oh, the industry has this gap. Let's fix that and fill it. And so it is so neat to see when that happens and it culminates in a reward. That's not you going, look at how wonderful I am. That's you going, man, I'm honored and humbled that my efforts have been noticed. So that's really spectacular. Let's just wrap this up, Andy. If anyone's listening to this going, you know what? A couple of those comments resonated with me, and maybe I need to get some of those lead follow-ups and automations in place. What's the best way that they can reach out and learn more and then connect with you?
Our website is www.turnerfinancial.biz. Our phone number is 317-204-6497. That rolls to both myself and my partner. Would love to get into the conversation. We have a lot of things going on that you just heard in this conversation that, if we can help grow your practice, would love to have the conversation. It's one of those things where I've been doing this for a long time, and part of my favorite thing, to be honest, something you just said resonated with me, and I didn't realize it until you just said it. I'm glad that I'm getting the award because I helped an agent.
Yeah.
I don't know that I'd have been so excited about it if it was because I did $20 million of production on my own.
Yeah.
Like, the fact that I was able to help an agent do something that was outside of the realm of normal just because it happened so fast, that's something I'm glad I can hang my hat on.
Yes. Yeah, let's put a pin in that, and that really is a neat way to end it. So thanks, Andy. I really appreciate you coming on. It was a real pleasure talking with you today.
Yes, Mike, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
You've been listening to Influential Entrepreneurs with Mike Saunders. To learn more about the resources mentioned on today's show or listen to past episodes, visit www.influentialentrepreneursradio.com.